assist I feel like that Luka Doncic gives to his guys, there's nothing left on the bone but to shoot it or dunk it. Like that's basically it.
Right.
Because he delivers the ball at exactly the right time. That's the obvious play. And look, he holds the ball a lot earlier in the possession, so that by the time it does get to you, there's only one thing left to do. But it's just like he had 50 and 15. And I don't know how many of those assists, I don't have it in front of me, were threes. But even if all of those were 2-point baskets, that's 80 points of offense. I'm sure they weren't. Let's say half of those are threes. Let's say 7 of those were threes. That's 87 points of offense generated by one guy directly through scoring or making a pass that was an immediate shot. Think about that. That's the level to which he dominated them last night.
You know who does a phenomenal job, maybe as well as anybody in the NBA, at punishing teams for doubling him? Luka Doncic in the Dallas Mavericks. And last night, that was a game where the Suns doubled Luka Doncic every time. And he made the right plays, obviously, like he always does it every time. And when he didn't have an easy out, he made tough shots, step backs, or just got out of them. But what I liked about them last night, yes, Lively has been phenomenal for them as a roller, and that's a really good pairing. But they also get Derrick Jones Jr. rolling to the rim and use him. And I think Derrick Jones Jr. there's the new mold of NBA player, which is not a center, not a power forward, just a wing player that is good in pick and roll as the roll guy. Because you're going to double off of Derrick Jones Jr.'s guy and throw 2 on ball at Luka. He make plays 4 on 3? And I think he's really good at that. So I think they have another weapon in their arsenal of being able to play Derrick Jones Jr. in that rolling role. And now you have switchy defensive lineups. Did you see the same thing from Derrick Jones Jr.? And do you kind of think that's a wrinkle they have now in their back pocket that will become very useful in a playoff series?
Yeah, and I think that's you're just starting to see the beginning of that. And it was obvious to me last night. Like Luka is really enjoying that, having a guy with legs that lively, right? To be able to just throw it up there and go get it, or some of the stuff he advanced it to him in transition to the open floor, knowing what's going to happen on the other end. You could just see Luka's sort of connecting to that, responding to that. The other thing about Luka last night, I liked about him, he did not spend a lot of time with the drama that I hate when I watch him and the whining and then not getting the calls and the hands in the air and having conversations with officials when if he ran back, he could prevent a break. He wasn't doing that either. He was having a lot of fun. I know how tough that must be for opposing teams to have a guy do that to you and be laughing a lot and smiling. It's driving you crazy, but they can't stop it. The thing that's amazing about Luka Doncic is when you talk about playmaking, like, there are guys that get a lot of assists and initiate offense a lot in this league, and they leave some work on the bone, if it was a rack of ribs, to the guy they gave the ball to, right? Maybe the guy takes one more rhythm dribble to get into his shot, right? Or there's a little bit more to be done. Or they go up, catch a lob, that's a good pass, but then land and take it up on the other side. Every assist I feel like that Luka Doncic gives to his guys, there's nothing left on the bone but to shoot it or dunk it. Like that's basically it. Because he delivers the ball at exactly the right time. That's the obvious play. And look, he holds the ball a lot earlier in the possession, so that by the time it does get to you, there's only one thing left to do. But it's just like he had 50 and 15. And I don't know how many of those assists, I don't have it in front of me, were threes. But even if all of those were 2-point baskets, that's 80 points of offense. I'm sure they weren't. Let's say half of those are threes. Let's say 7 of those were threes. That's 87 points of offense generated by one guy directly through scoring or making a pass that was an immediate shot. Think about that. That's the level to which he dominated them last night. And look, sometimes you watch them and you don't know. I'm just not sure if I believe. Is this going to be something you're going to be able to really win with in the postseason? One thing I do know, they have an identity offensively. I have no idea what Phoenix's identity is. Zero. They have 2 great offensive players right now that operate independent of each other. They're going to add a 3rd great offensive player that's going to operate independent of those 2 guys, right? So they didn't. I don't know if they even needed Bradley Beal to contend if they got a point guard to run the show and organize them and facilitate and lead them. What they're going to try to do is run an offense called Be Great, and it's going to be, your turn, my turn, your turn. That's what it's going to look like. And hopefully make enough shots out of these role players on a given night and not be just complete abomination defensively. Be decent defensively, have good 3-point shooting, and then these 3 guys just be better than what you can present defensively. And I got news for you. Doesn't work that way, man. The teams that are winning in this league over the last 15 years, they're teams that have some sort of semblance of continuity amongst their best players. They work together, whether it was LeBron and Wade with the weak side slashing and stuff like that, or transition in Miami. Obviously, Golden State, the way they run their offense with all the moving parts. Denver, the way that Jokic and Murray and Jokic in general just directs that offense. There's a flow to it and there's a pecking order to it. And with Phoenix, we have no idea what that pecking order is going to be. But one thing we do know, this is not what a flow of a winning offense is going to look like against the teams you're going to have to beat. And that was really obvious to me of the first, 28 games, and more obvious even last night, because now I think there's bigger issues than just waiting on Bradley Beal or the offense not flowing. There's something else going on there. And maybe Kevin Durant, well, look, he'll look at himself, be disgusted with the way he acted and played, and maybe you won't see that again this year. I wouldn't put it past him. He's a competitor. But that was bad last night, Adam.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like KD has a lot on the line. He's got to be feeling a lot of pressure now. And we know he's a guy that's online and sees the conversation about him more so than most athletes. So I have to imagine he's going to see, because our critique is not necessarily unique about how he's playing. But you mentioned Luka Doncic's creative points. It was 82, which, by the way, is a Christmas record. He generated 82 points between scoring and assists. Never been done on Christmas before. So that's an all-time new record. But real quick, I want to go back, because the Mavs, to kind of wrap it up, I actually want to talk about the Mavericks now. The Mavericks have, when you build around Luka, we just talked about shooting off ball with the Suns. Can you get enough spacing? But there is also a playmaking dynamic to this. If you're going to double Luka, if Luka requires a double team, can you create playmakers around the court? And it was reported by Tim McMahon that the Mavs' planned starting lineup once Kyrie Irving returns is going to be Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, Dante Exum, Derek Jones Jr., and Derek Lively. This is an interesting one. So no Grant Williams here, but I actually really like this, because Kyrie Irving obviously is a really great at attacking a scrambled defense, right? Luka's going to create that scrambled defense, give it to Kyrie, shoot, drive, whatever, he's going to attack you. Dante Exum is a phenomenal decision maker. He's not great at creating that advantage, but you give him a scrambled defense and he'll find the open man. Derek Jones Jr., we just talked about being good at playing that role, and then Lively being good there. I look at that and I go, I feel like I know what the Mavericks' plan is this season. That's their plan, is to put all these playmakers around Luka so that he can do what he does. And when he gets the ball out of his hands, you're getting it to someone who knows what to do with it. And I don't know if that's a winning formula, to go all the way to the title. I don't know if the talent level is there, but I do think it's the right idea. Playmakers, not necessarily just shooters, but playmakers around them. What do you think of that plan?
Yeah, look, I hear what you're saying about the plan. I agree. That is the plan. It sounds like the one thing that I would say about that starting five, if that's going to be the group, that's not any there's no 3-point shooting around those two guys. Now, if Luka's making his, then that's a whole nother element. You have that. And Kyrie's going to, hit a couple probably too, but Exum's like 31% for his career. He's not a guy that's going to space out well against them. Now, look, you got Hardaway coming in right off the bench, who's going to be able to give you a lot of that they're hoping for. That's the only thing I don't like about that lineup. But I do like the fact that you've got Lively and Jones out there together as two guys that are active, and they can make something out of nothing just with their athletic ability and Luka's vision. And where they benefit so much, what Luka does better than any player in the NBA, because a lot of these guys that are great at drawing attention and are great passers, like LeBron, Jokic, Luka, like they're all in that vein of player. What he does better than anybody is freeze you with his eyes. And he's so patient with an extra count. When that ball comes up above his head, when there's traffic, some guys just want to get rid of it. When there's two guys in their face, like get it to the next open jersey. Luka will hold it, move the backline defender that's rotating, try to get into a passing lane for a steal. He'll move that guy with his eyes and hold that ball as long as he possibly can to finally deliver it so that there can be no reactive time to get to the shooter or get to the lob guy. It's really incredible. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do it better, honestly, the way he freezes you like that. And that is exactly where guys like Lively and Derek Jones are going to benefit with some weak side slashes or late lobs, because he holds it to just the right time until the defense is so spread out that they can't recover back to it. So look, I was super impressed by the way they played. I know we beat up the Suns at the beginning. But let's give a lot of credit to Dallas, man, because this was the last night of Christmas night, a marquee game, and you went in there and owned them. And your best player was incredible, and everybody up and down that roster contributed. And the belief they have around that guy was so evident last night.
It's so true. They definitely have a lot of belief in him. And as a result, Mavs are in the 5 seed currently, 18-12, and doing a lot of that, without Kyrie Irving, which has been very impressive.